The United States and Iran signed a peace deal. You must have heard about it by now. But do you know what all points were agreed upon and how it will completely rewrite the global and Indian economy? Today, we're gonna discuss all 14 points from the official document leaked to CNN. But more importantly, we are going to look at how this deal silently throws a miraculous lifeline to India's most critical multi-million-dollar geopolitical asset, the Chabahar Port. We are talking about 120 million US dollars of public money that was effectively declared frozen and lost after brutal American sanctions. Stick around till the end because we are going to uncover exactly how this historic peace treaty hands India its gateway to Central Asia back, completely changing your daily household budget along the way. The agreement begins by stopping the immediate crisis. Article 1 mandates an immediate and permanent end to the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, with both sides completely banning hostile actions or threats of force. Article 2 builds the diplomatic floor, forcing both nations to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity while promising zero interference in internal affairs. Globally, these 2 points instantly cool down financial markets and lower maritime insurance rates. For India, this protects over 8 million Indian workers in the Gulf, keeping the vital financial remittances they send back home safe and steady. Then we hit the tight timeline and the critical shipping corridors. Article 3 gives both sides a maximum of 60 days to finalize a permanent treaty. To ensure progress, Article 4 demands that the United States immediately lift its naval blockade, restore shipping traffic within 30 days, and withdraw its military forces from surrounding areas within 30 days after a final treaty is signed. In response, Article 5 requires Iran to ensure that commercial merchant shipping through the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman is fully restored to pre-war volumes within 30 days, taking on the job of clearing technical hazards and neutralizing underwater mines. This directly rescues the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz handles nearly 20% of global petroleum trade. The wartime shutdown pushed global energy reserves to their lowest levels since 1990, forcing nations to drain 163 million barrels of emergency oil just to survive. Reopening this channel drops international freight charges and gives Indian manufacturing industries an immediate break from massive supply chain delays. Next, the framework handles long-term cash and legal rules. Article 6 commits the United States and its regional partners to creating a comprehensive rehabilitation plan for Iran, guaranteeing a massive funding pool of at least 300 billion US dollars. Right after that, Article 7 binds the US to a strict schedule to end all economic sanctions, including United Nations Security Council resolutions, international nuclear restrictions, and all unilateral primary and secondary American penalties. Globally, a 300 billion US dollars infrastructure project triggers an immediate capital expenditure boom, opening massive biddings for industrial manufacturing and engineering firms. For India, this is a direct win. Our domestic infrastructure giants can secure lucrative contracts to build roads and ports across Iran. Furthermore, completely erasing secondary US sanctions removes all legal threats, letting Indian companies smoothly expand trade across Western and Central Asia. To protect this economic peace, the document sets up strict military and nuclear guardrails. Article 8 features a formal promise from Iran that it will never produce nuclear weapons, leaving the ultimate fate of enriched materials to the final treaty. Article 9 forces both sides to freeze status quo during the talks. Iran caps its nuclear activity, while the US is barred from adding regional troops or imposing new penalties. To keep the truce stable, Article 10 commands the US Treasury Department to instantly issue wide-ranging waivers. These waivers legally permit Iran to export its crude oil and petrochemical derivatives while fully green-lighting critical supporting services like international banking, shipping insurance, and commercial transportation. This immediate oil waiver reshapes your personal finances. Introducing millions of barrels of legal Iranian crude oil back into the market has already cooled down energy panic, pulling international benchmarks down towards 78 US dollars per barrel. For the average Indian citizen, this this means domestic petrol and diesel prices stay steady, keeping the transport costs of daily groceries completely under control. But as I mentioned at the start, the ultimate strategic victory for India is hidden in how this deal completely rescues our massive investments in the Chabahar port. Around 10 to 12 years back, India began investing heavily in Chabahar to build a massive trade corridor to landlocked Central Asia, deliberately bypassing land routes through Pakistan. Anticipating geopolitical headwinds, India actually transferred all the committed money, estimated at 120 million US dollars, to Iran well in advance to lock down development. However, when the US abruptly reimposed crippling sanctions, our strategic play collapsed. In January, US President Donald Trump delivered a lethal blow, warning that any country doing business with Iran would face a brutal 25% tariff on all. This new peace deal changes everything. By wiping out US sanctions and unfreezing assets under Article 11, India Ports Global Limited gets a clean, fresh lease of life to operate the strategic Shahid Beheshti terminal, because Article 14 anchors the final treaty under a binding United Nations Security Council resolution. Unlocking Iran's banking channels means Indian agricultural and pharmaceutical exporters can scale up direct sales without facing frustrating payment blocks. More importantly, it permanently secures Chabahar as the undisputed anchor for India's 7,200 kilometers international north-south transport corridor, linking Indian goods directly into Central Asia, Eurasia, and Russia. If this 60-day framework holds, the global economy avoids a brutal recession. For India, it secures stable fuel costs, a resilient rupee, and structural protection for our most critical trade routes. But before we close today's analysis, we are already looking ahead at a much larger, far more unsettling question. The entire war, what did it actually achieve? When you look closely at the timeline, a bizarre pattern emerges. This conflict started with one clear agenda, drifted into an entirely different battlefield, and finally concluded on a completely unexpected note. Global trade was choked, supply chains were broken, and nations were pushed to the brink. But for what? A growing choir of geopolitical analysts are pointing out a harsh possibility that after all the smoke cleared, nothing was truly achieved, only lost. They argue that the United States walked away with zero strategic gains, while Iran, despite facing crippling blockades and intense strikes, might have actually emerged more politically resilient and powerful in the region. Is this assessment accurate, or is it a total misreading of a highly complex endgame? Who really walked away from this conflict holding the ultimate leverage? We are currently putting together a definitive, data-heavy breakdown of this post-war reality. If you want to see this investigation drop next, let us know by commenting down below. What do you think about the revival of the Chabahar port under this deal? If you want clearer, data-backed breakdowns like this, hit the like button and subscribe to OneStats Research and Media. I'm Indu Tyagi. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to OneStats for the news that matters.